So this is a bundle turn machine, only one model that's that's got. So this is the mixer unit that I was kind of talking about, right? And then so this mixer, right? She's making soba, right? Soba dough, and you can actually control the speed of rotation, rotational speed, and then of course, like you can set a timer, right? And so first of all, like we want to start like rotating the mixer, right? Just with the flour, just with the buckwheat flour, and we want to, break any piece of the chunks of flours in this process, like before we add any water to it. So we mix it for about a minute, and after that we're going to be adding water. This is a plain water. So buckwheat, I mean the soba noodles like is very simple. Just buckwheat flour and just water. So very simple. And this is going to be 100% buckwheat mixed soba noodles. So well, what we call like in Japanese, like what we call juwari soba. Juwari means like 100%. And so she's adding the water directly, right, directly onto the lid, which has like all these holes. Through these holes, the water is dripping through, right, little by little to the buckwheat flour, and being rotated, right, being agitated. So this allows good hydration and like good hydration. So that that's kind of this process. It mimics the hand sort of like mixing, like hydration of the flour by hand. And but before, we can't really wait for the mixer to be done, right? We don't want to waste you guys like just by looking at the waste you guys time like by just looking at the mixer lid, right? So she prepared the high hydration ramen noodle dough, and so we want to show you guys how we do the sheeting. So again, this sheeting, I mean roller unit. So roller unit, like we need to start from one and up, right? One by one. This gear, right? One gear, like kind of narrows the roller gap, and then so this allows us to do the gradual thinning of dough, right? And then you may like notice that like she's actually feeding the dough to roll like the different directions. So this actually allows us to like strengthen the dough in different directions. So the dough becomes firm in multi directions, not just one direction, multi directions. So this also like affects the noodle texture as well. And so at each round of sheeting, like notice that like she's dusting the dough, because this like high hydration ratio noodle, like that's really wet. So it should be dusting at every round of sheeting. So after 3 minutes, right? Like let's open it and see like how the dough is coming. And so she added about like just 2/3 of the water, right? Like and mix it for like 3 minutes. right? And then just she wants to just make sure that like all that dough, right? Every part of the dough is mixed up well, and so then after that, right? And wants to like add the rest of the water and then like mix it for the rest of the minutes, main minutes, right? And yeah, then just let it mix. Yeah, so like kind of mimicking it like again like hand making process like with the mixing. So after like we added like all the water, right, and we want to like turn down the speed of the rotation so that it allows us to be able to do like all these um, kind of making the well turning the dough like the flour or kind of powdery dough into like all these like crumbles of dough, right? And then eventually turning them into chunks of dough, kind of fairly size, like fairly big chunks of dough, so that makes us like easier to be able like easier to do the next process. And notice like she's being able to like turn the shape of the dough like into kind of well square shape, like rectangular shape. And because the dough got really large, right? Um, so she's like winding the dough into the rolling pin and dusting it. And and there's actually a foot switch that she's actually stepping on to like kind of pause the operation, right? While she's kind of setting the dough sheet onto the yeah, like in a position where like you can do the automatic like pulling drawing of the dough. So now she stopped the dough, right? Stopped the like sheeting, right? Using the foot switch. And now like I mean, it's winding automatically. So like it's a good feature to have like this foot switch. It helps to pause the operation temporarily. So using that pizza cutter to so I cut the dough, right, to certain size to so like minimize the waste, right? Minimize waste like through cutting so that you wouldn't like waste like dough into like kind of shorter strands, and then like um, then they're like if you fold the dough like in a certain point, right, and then like if that dough is like too soft, and then that part like breaks, so maybe better for like depending on that dough type of dough, like softness of dough like you're making, um, it's easier for you to like kind of make cuts instead of like folding it. And so use this cutter, the blade knife, and then all these noodles are like being cut, noodle strands being cut, right? are like falling onto the tray that's moving side by side, right? It's basically collecting these dough in a way that kind of like those noodle strands are kind of organized, and it's like in a way that like makes it like easier for you to like kind of retrieve them and then um, put them away in the container. Right, so that's high hydration ramen noodles. So that's 45%. The noodle texture is like soft, and then so yeah, there was like few portions like she cut like in advance, and you know make make sure make sure like dust the noodles like before you put them away in the container. Like it's high hydration ration noodles, so they would stick. So make sure that they are well dusted. They put them away, and it's, this type of noodles like is very good for like curly noodles, and then it's because it has like very distinctive noodle texture, and I think they go very well with like dipping noodles, and then like all these even like all these like regular standard like ramen soup like soy sauce, ramen shoyu, and like shio and other types of noodles, and you can make them curly by hand, like squeezing them by hand, right? So that's just one application that this bundle turn machine can do, right? And then let's let's check the soba noodles, the soba dough. All right, so it's coming together, right? It's coming together, and yeah, it's coming together like in the crumbles of dough, and so it's like really good condition. It's very good condition, and so as you do like in a like hand making process, so we just sort of like gather them up, right? Gather them up, and then so we in hand making process like we like knead them, right? We knead them by hand, but that that takes a long time to do it. Like so, we use this like press machine to press them like into like just one big chunk of dough, right? And then well, we make them to the sheet shaped dough from that point on. So we're just gonna use this press machine. Again, this press machine is designed to apply equal amount of pressure like on all areas of dough, right? And then we by actually folding the dough into like inwards and like kind of well having having like having all areas like dough like kind of exposed right to that surface with the press, right? We can apply well equal amount of pressure like throughout like in the entire areas of dough, and so we need to fold it. Need to fold it like in bars, right? And to fold it, right? And then like as you can see, like there's some of the dough like kind of stuck in the tray, right? Because it's pretty wet, right? It's very wet and it's very sticky, right? Because buckwheat flour is like just basically starch, right? And there's no gluten in it, so it's very sticky and it's very wet. Okay, let's go for the second one. Just got one pressing. So especially, this kind of noodle making techniques, right? Like kneading and like, well, hydration, kneading, and then like um, all these like techniques that like, you'd have to, well, you'd have to spend a lot of hours actually, like, kind of mastering all these techniques. And after mastering all these techniques, like, it's still a bit difficult, right, for you to be able like do it efficiently and effectively, because we're all human beings, right? But like this machine allows you to be able like the master, and to be able like master this like just probably a few hours of like using this machine. So uh, that's the that's what the bottom tower machine does. And then so after this um, process, right, we need to do a bit of manual operation. We need a bit of manual operation, and all this dough like that's being pressed, right? And we need to we'd actually do the kneading part by ourselves, um, but this can be like learned in a matter of like few hours. And then well, what we are doing here is that like we are actually making it firm at the same time, like we are, well, so like making the sort like all this dough, right, smoother and surface, and like the same like inside as well. And so like she's kneading it, and then like you see the cracks, right, cracks in the dough. um, she's like sort of like kind of kneading these cracks into inwards, right, into inside the dough, so that like outside the dough will be like kind of smoother, as she kneads it. It's like all these cracks and like holes, like, and then wrinkles of the dough, like she's kneading them into insides, right? And like as she kneads it, like, well, the dough will be like becoming like it's like kind of like eye drop shape, sort of. And then so like it's like outside, right, outer surface of the dough like getting smoother and smoother, right? You maybe like notice. And so all these like wrinkles and like cracks kind of like get like sort of going like as she needs, right, like are concentrated like in a certain spot, like just one part of the dough. And then so it's like now like she's sort of like closing that part. So that's very, very smooth, right? It's very smooth, like, and then it's kind of like I drop um, shape, and then like so finally like she's flattening the dough, and then like well, thin enough to flatten it, like to thin enough for it to be able like kind of pass through the roller. Okay, so that's, yeah, that's Just stay enough, right? And then make sure you dust it before you start sheeting. Otherwise, the dough is going to stick. Okay. So let's go from first gear. Yeah, so that was locked. The foot switch that we talked about, like that was locked. So from first gear, the second. And the third. So it's getting gradually thinned at different directions, right? In different directions. Fifth gear. And the sixth. And the seventh gear. And the eighth. So we're going to start using the automatic winding function. So she's going for 11th gear. And you maybe notice that the thickness sensor is detecting, displaying like how the thickness of the dough being sheeted. So currently the thickness is like 1.5, 1.6 millimeter. Okay, so like she folded like into, the width, right? That's like that. So that's the width of actually the cutter, so that like this dough sheet like fits the width of within the width of the cutter, so that we can cut the entire area of the dough into noodle strands. So then this part, like actually you can adjust the width of the cut. So this way thicker, and towards this way that thinner, smaller. Okay, so it's done cutting. So when you slide the tray out, like the noodles are ready to be cooked. And this tray actually fits nicely into the container we have. So this is, and then, you know, well, again, we're following the method, right? The three, like right away method. You know, we need to like actually start cooking the noodles like as soon as we can, or to retain the buckwheat flavor. Um, but then you can actually pack it. You can actually pack it like that, the noodles, right, for takeout, and like allow the customers to probably like cook them at home. Yeah, and cooking time is like pretty short too. Like it's a minute or so. Like that's really short, and so that's probably appropriate for takeout item as well. And so then this is gluten free. So this is something you maybe may want to consider doing for your business.